Hello and welcome to the Round Ball Australia podcast. My name is Lachie Avil. Matt Olsen is here with me tonight for a little midweek special as Melbourne City have just defeated Johor Darul from Malaysia 2-0 in the Asian Champions League Elite. Matt, a third consecutive win in a row for an Australian team in the top level of AFC Asian club football is pretty miraculous. They sit currently second on the league table for the East, only on goal difference to Vissel Kobe, who, of course, they copped that very tight 1-0 loss to. Imagine if that game had gone a different way, City could be on top of the table at the moment. It's a pretty cool night. It feels like this team, Melbourne City, gaining momentum in this competition, winning the games they should be, and when in combination with that 2-1 win away from Makita as well, they're almost at the point where you'd expect them to qualify. It's probably around that 10 or 11 point mark. City are on 9 at the moment. They're doing well, and there's still 3 games to go, and there is genuine reason to be excited about them, which is why you and I are here tonight, because we're getting pretty excited about this Melbourne City team.
Yeah, and of course we've got Stemfreche coming up later tonight out in Western China against Chengdu Rongshan. So presumably with the way Chinese football's been going continentally at the moment, Stemfreche will win and overtake, so City will pop down to third. But sitting third in the Eastern Conference, I mean, when continental football goes right for us, not like, because it's a very rare thing, but it's a very beautiful thing. How can you just not love thinking about the prospect of getting that coefficient back up, which I know you're obsessed with?
Oh yeah,
the ability to actually just see us perform on that stage. It's awesome. And this City team, I think they're really working well with what they've got at their disposal. I think the way that they've been working with their depth, but also just the natural talent of their younger players, being able to really enhance that perception of Australia overall. And I mean, if we're also real about it, I think it's obviously been a very lucky run. So let's not jump away from it and act like Australian football is going to come out and be one of the best teams, continentally right now, and that City are about to win a title or something. I mean, we're not jumping to that conclusion.
No.
I think the Machida game, a lot went right, and I think tonight again, Johor could have very easily found an equaliser, but I still think that City are playing their style of football to a T, and I think Vidmar's really got this team coached in the right way to the point where they can step out, be confident, get these results. And on this stage, I think, again, through what we saw tonight, clearly there's enough happening by design for us to be very confident with what's to come. And like you're saying, when you run the maths back, this is looking like knockout football is incoming, and a few very intriguing fixtures to come. So looking forward to it.
I'm going to hit back at you slightly, because obviously there is fortune and there is variance all over football, right? You could play the same game 100 times. You're not going to get the same eventuality in terms of the way a game unfolds. And yes, there's been fortune, but there's also been fortune the other way as well. Like, you think about the way they conceded that last minute goal against Vissel Kobe, which would have been an incredible point away from home. Even in this game, like, we talk about Patrick Beach getting a very slight touch on the ball across the face where, that disrupts the shot a foot out from goal, and instead of going straight into the net, it hits the crossbar and looks comical and looks like a touch of fortune. That goes for City. But also Max Caputo had 2 other golden chances. One inside the first minute. He's got a clear header from like a couple of yards out that he really should score. So it does go both ways. And there has been fortune for City, absolutely, especially the way they came back against Buriram. But that is football. And I guess this is kind of the sentiment that you and I have been pushing for. Like, yes, there are all these natural disadvantages that go against Australian teams competing in this competition with such good pedigree, with lots of clubs willing to spend a lot of money. But when the whistle goes, it's 11v11 for 90 minutes and it starts 0-0. And from there, anything can happen. And so far, it's gone City's way, which has been great. And we're looking around. And on that note as well, with the clubs and the way they spend money, one of the fascinating kind of aspects of Asian football that you get, and one of the reasons why I think City particularly have done well, is because they are a team with not necessarily the best players in Asia, but they are coached superbly.
Yep.
And they have rhythm as a team. Obviously, Matt Lachie is out. Kai Truan is bouncing around between centre-back and CDM, so there's a little bit of that movement. But a team like Johor, who they played tonight, they quite literally have international visa players, their best players that they bring into the club they do not register them for the domestic league because their league does not allow as many international players as what the AFC do for these competitions. So their team isn't consistent. So they have a star team, a team made up of star players is the analogy I'm going for here. And I think that's the reason why Aurelio Vidmar's Melbourne City can hold on to clean sheets like this. Obviously, you have good performances from Patrick Beach individually, but they are a really, really good team.
Yeah, and I think the conversation that we constantly have from like an international perspective with the Australian curriculum, the Aussie DNA, the grit, all these kinds of things, I think the manifestation of that is a lot of the way that City have been playing, and the reason that the way that they've been playing has come with a lot of success. A lot of it is about focusing on that counter attack, being able to use, again, very athletic, very strong players in the wider areas. Being able to focus on, I think, the way that, say, those younger players have been stepping up and paving the way for guys like Bajic and Naboot to have the weight really lifted off them. I think it is something that we seem to practice a lot, really internationally, and I think it's no mistaking that style of play is actually really working out for City. And I think that balance of being able to, in a domestic case, be more on the front foot. To then continentally be playing on the back foot a lot. I think it's a very interesting contrast, and I think it's a sign of a good team that depending on the opposition, depending on the scenario, they can be versatile. Because I think, again, you talk about Johor, and my biggest thing with Johor is that obviously they're just this almost like comical monopoly of a club where like all of their competition in the Malaysian Super League are these basically semi-professional state teams, and we know that areas like Kuching and Sarawak are getting more professional. KL City has obviously become a really, really big club in their own right, the only other really kind of McFranchise team in Malaysia. But the point is that like from a Malaysian perspective, Johor are playing like 99% of the time with these like comical results where they're going on the front foot a lot. And that's ultimately where I come from, the fact that they were still comfortable in that environment. They really relished it tonight, but things were not going their way. And that's where I come into the whole aspect of kind of there being a bit of luck from Melbourne City. But you're also right in that, opportunities like the Caputo chance were not dealt with very well to start. So I concede that as well, right? It goes both ways. But just looping back to my point here, I think there isn't a distinct Australian style about City that can't be ignored here, because the parallels between that and our international play is something to really take note of. It working ultimately.
Yeah. Look, we weren't even really planning to do this a podcast like today midweek, but I messaged you after City scored the first goal. I'm like, if City win this, do you want to come on and just talk about Australian teams crushing in Asia for like half an hour with me? So that's literally what we're going to do. And I feel very vindicated tonight, and I'm sure you do too, Matt, as two of us who are very passionate about Australia making an impact in Asia in a football sense. And all those things we said about, the disadvantages of Australian football going into this competition, but just not letting it it can't let us drag us down into the mindset that we're just going to go in and lose every time in this competition. Like runs like this from City can happen. And to be fair, we didn't get the best introduction to this format with the Mariners last year. That was a very unique set of circumstances. But this is great. Like, it's just cool to see Australian teams crushing. Like, we've had teams get out of the groups, obviously in the infancy of like Asian continental football, the Wanderers obviously, and the Adelaide United going all the way to the final. But since the competition has matured, I think we've had victory in Sydney going through to the round of 16, maybe on occasion, not too much more than that. These kind of results just give me optimism that we may be able to have a return to those days. Like, especially, we'll talk about the coefficient a little bit later, because you're not getting through an episode about Asia without me talking about it. But there's a chance that in the next few years, probably ahead of schedule, we're going to get possibly more entries into this competition. And if you have 2 or 3 teams competing, then it's not just, the odd Melbourne City are playing. It becomes a league-wide narrative, not just a club narrative of teams going into Asia. And then hopefully the respect for this competition can build as well.
But I think something we shouldn't neglect while we're talking about this, and I know obviously MacArthur are due to play on Thursday, but our dominance in the ACL2 has also been really important. I think the issue is, and you could see this in real time with Mark Jackson and the Mariners. I mean, yes, they got significantly worse between seasons. Let's not ignore that. But
Yeah.
I think Jackson in particular was quite shell-shocked with winning the AFC Cup to then coming into the Champions League elite and not really being able to grasp how big of a step it was. That clearly played a part in the way that that team performed. But since then, look, obviously, Sydney really, really missed a golden opportunity with the Sanfrecce drama, and then losing to Lion City Sailors is a little bit unforgivable, but it was what it was. But now we've got this run with MacArthur, and like you're saying here, it's a two-pronged approach here from the coefficient, because we've got MacArthur are probably going to go on quite a good run, make the quarters, make the semis, win it for all we know once again. But then with that, you've also got the fact that if they knock Beijing Guoan out directly in their group, that sends the coefficient up even
massive.
more. And then there's the ability for we directly knock China out and then go on a bit of a run ourselves. So all the emphasis is really on the fact that City are overperforming in the Champions League elite. Yeah, it's important. But the potential for MacArthur to go on that run in ACL2 to complement that, that's like stocks, right? It's huge. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you can comment any more on that, but I think the potential of that brewing is very exciting for us both.
So for those who are listening to the podcast, what I'm going to do for the actual viewers who are watching the video, I'm actually going to bring up the coefficient rankings up on the screen so you can have a little look at them. And what you're seeing is in that 2026 column, Australia, 9.333. We are currently the second ranked nation in the East, only slightly behind Japan in terms of points. And China are only 6.133. So that's 3 points. And remember that, don't remember, I probably haven't told you about it, but there's also bonus points that you get just for qualifying. And that averages out to about 3, I'm pretty sure, per country. So essentially, China have earned 3 points, and already to this point in the season, Australia have earned 6 points. So we've earned double what China have. And Matt's right. We have the potential for MacArthur to knock out Beijing in the ACL2 group. That's the only team China has. And right now, as we stare at the Champions League elite table, Shanghai Shenhua, Chengdu, and Shanghai Port, Kevin Muscat's team, are 10th, 11th, and 12th in the league. They are the bottom 3. There is a very realistic chance that all 4 Chinese teams are knocked out before the knockout stage, and China are left with less than 10 points on the coefficient this year. And if you couple that with how well Australian teams are doing, City still have 3 more games. MacArthur still have 2 more games. You get bonus points when you get to the knockout stage and progress through rounds as well. If we get anywhere close to a 20-point year, which if MacArthur go deep and City just make the knockouts, we'll go pretty close to doing, there is a legitimate chance that we jump up into 4th, and that will give us, not next year because you have to wait for a year for these to kick in, but the year after we will have an extra qualifier for the Champions League elite. So that is very materially showing Australia's rise back up to hopefully the higher echelons of Asia. And then you have Thailand in 3rd place, who we'd also be looking to get in the next couple of years, which would be 2+1. So 2 direct slots into the Champions League elite, plus a qualifier as well. And you still have that ACL2 spot where Australian teams have proven that we can be dominant. So I am just so excited, not just what Melbourne City's campaign and MacArthur's campaign looks like, but the next 5 years of establishing ourselves, hopefully, in that 3rd category, because Japan and Korea, I think, need like a pyramid promotion, relegation, removal of the salary cap level change for the A-League to try and actually catch. But just establish ourselves in Asia and be competitive every year, I think is just so exciting. It adds another layer to being a football fan. Yeah,
no doubt. And also, Buriram are 8th in Champions League Elite. I don't know what their ACL2 form. I know Ratchanbury have been very good in the ACL2. So we'll see how Thailand go. But there is the potential to really gain on those rivals, and it's such a potent thing and such an important thing for the game that we can sit here and actually celebrate this, because listen, it's content for total football nerds like us, right? But
it is. It really is.
The importance of it, the importance of it for the game. Would it be controversial to say it almost means as much as wins at Senior World Cups? That is the level of jumping up to having 2 continental teams in the elite competition. That it actively progresses us to be able to play more games against those top tier J League clubs because
I'm
the
going
gap
to
is
drag
so
you back
big.
just a little bit.
No,
Maybe not a
but
win.
seriously,
Maybe
understand
like
how much how
qualification.
how technical the players are in a country like Japan, and how much we just like the football IQ we learn from playing at that level, and to have it 2 times over, to have more of it in a season, is a really inherently healthy thing for the game.
Oh, in terms of like difficulty overcoming, absolutely. I think I was maybe looking at more of a significance angle, but you have that regular competition. And again, I dream of a world where it is an open pyramid and the cream rises to the top and, the A-League is able to generate enough money, which gives people ambition to go further and further and further. That world is probably still a little ways off, but we're going to try and help them get there. But I don't know. I can't help being excited about this, and I think it just annoys me when I look at European football. And again, I'm much more into European football than you are. I'm going to get up and watch Chelsea against Barcelona at 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, even though I'm not a fan of those two teams. Just the prize that European fans put on continental competition. I just wish there is no reason why we shouldn't have that here. And it just frustrates me to no end. We should dream of our teams being able to go to our continent and represent our country. And it's different in
Mate,
Australia
if
because of all the
McCullum make the
challenges we
ACL2
face.
final, they're going to be playing Ronaldo, and that will be everywhere. That will be everywhere.
Oh, could you imagine? And obviously, it's going to suck because this year the West team gets to host. Because Sydney missed out on the chance to host it last year. Could you imagine CR7 Ronaldo strolling into Campbelltown to play the Bulls in an ACL2? Could you imagine the crowd that would turn up? It'd be like 10 times the MacArthur's like season total in terms of people demanding a ticket to go to that game. It would be amazing.
Just the idea of it is kind of hard to imagine, but like just how out of touch most people would be with the concept of that to even know that it's a realistic, possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, again, because Singapore hosted the last final, but yeah, it's insane to think about that we could be getting an Australian side in the face of Al Nassr, right? Like it's a really, really hot prospect. So,
and you know what? It might not be Ronaldo, but given all the prowess of these Saudi teams and the money, and one Saudi Arabian team every year is going to be in the ACL2. And every second year, the winner of the East gets to host the final. So every second year, there is a genuine chance that Australian team, if you win your East side of the bracket, you are going to be bringing in a legend of the game that will absolutely pull the European
Let's not forget,
crowd.
though, Lachie, that this would involve like a pretty giant upset of a Japanese team, which we got last year through some very poor shenanigans. I mean,
thank you, Valère Germain.
So let's just calm down a little bit on that front as well. I need to reel it in. You need to reel it in. There's a lot of that going on right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, look, it's cool. Maybe we should also talk about City because they did win this game as well. They were the team that has, sparked this conversation. Maxi Caputo, the reason why I'm so impressed with him, like he obviously has a good goal scoring record to start the year, but to not only go to Adelaide last Friday night and get absolutely nothing afforded to him, and then miss a chance in the opening minute, and then to still score a couple of minutes later and have another good chance later on in the game where he could have had, a theoretical third, right? He is starting to become the striker that Melbourne City hoped he would be for the last couple of years. He got thrown in for Jamie McLaren when J Mac went through that really barren run towards the end of the 23-24 season. Looking good when J Mac left, then he gets the really bad injury that kept him out for ages. It's just kind of stunted him a little bit. He's had a full preseason. He's kicked off really well. He's scoring in the Champions League Elite. He looks amazing. Patrick Beach had another great game. I think a couple of those saves at the end just nick him the man of the match award for mine. Socceroos a genuine third place in the Australian goalkeeping ranks at the moment from him at 22 years of age or something is outstanding. Obviously, we've talked about their academy plenty and how they keep producing these young players, but getting these imports, Kanamori feels like he's fit into the team now and is just a very prolific piece. Kuin's been good for Yonks, and we know the other parts as well. they just, even with the amount of injuries they've had, I think they really are flirting with the line now. And I think we saw, probably not a great performance from Liam Bonateg, probably accentuate that they really are on the line with those injuries. But to have sustained it this well and be playing this well with these players, they're just such an impressive side.
I think we've rather unfortunately got to give raps to the City Football Group, right? Because the football IQ and the scouting, the infrastructure, the academy, it all comes down to the fact that that is very, very obviously the best resourced in all of Australasian and Oceanian football, right? So when it comes to the ability to be able to produce a talent and really like come sort of, late 2010s when we were having a lot of conversations about the state of the Socceroos, where are we going to be producing players from? We had a really kind of worrying crop going on. The A-League was really not producing players at the level we'd liked. I don't think anyone really could have predicted the bounce back that we were going to get in terms of the youth talent that's come out of it. And a lot of it has really, and this is the other unfortunate thing, is that a lot of it has been a byproduct of the A-League's decline, is that younger players are playing at a higher level, domestically, and then they're able to, because they're bursting out at a younger age, able to then make the bigger moves overseas. And we've seen it with the likes of, Waddingham and all of these players that are now making those moves. We talk about sort of Pearman and Benny coming out of Perth. But I do look at the fact that someone like Caputo simply getting his chance is such a bright spark for the country. And then you look at the fact that he's also got really good, state-of-the-art facilities to work at, at the City Football Centre. And it bodes really, really well for the future of him, for the future of the club, for the future of us to be able to bring more players into the fold. And, Caputo is a few international camps into his career as well, both with younger international teams. I think he's even been a train-on player for the Socceroos at some points. So realistically, there is a bright enough future for someone like that. But to then have the domestic minutes, and then, like I was kind of saying before, to be able to get the really valuable minutes against a higher caliber of opponent, a more technical opponent that you're going to get out of Japan, out of South Korea, and so on and so forth. I just think it's so huge for development. Such a crucial cog in all of these conversation pieces coming together to add another element as to why someone like that can fire on all cylinders, both domestic and international, into the future. So I think someone like Caputo's really primed to have a better season in him domestically, but then also to really kick on as he gets older. And it's the kind of thing that, again, in years prior we weren't talking about, but there's been this byproduct of younger players coming into the fold, and things have been better in that sense. But let's not act like the A-League's in a healthy position at all.
No.
Just happy to see that side of it, obviously.
But you're right in that that's exposed, obviously, young players at all clubs. But because City's players have come a lot more prepared than most, that like the spotlight's gone on them. And I wrote about this for Football 360 a couple of weeks ago, as part of the Roundball network. But I don't think a lot of people expected, and I definitely didn't either, that CFG coming into Melbourne Heart at the time, so the City Football Group turning Heart into Melbourne City. Obviously, in the early days, we saw the big flashy marquee signings, right? And we saw the red become City Blue, and we saw those big impacts. I don't think people expected, and again, I definitely didn't, that the ability to actually just turn Australian kids into good footballers was going to be the biggest asset of that connection. As you say, just the academy setup. And what do you do each day? What is the development plan? Like, obviously, we have knowledgeable people in Australia and people who have been in Europe, and we've produced good players before, but we don't have this tried and tested European form to come into Australia before the City Football Group, and to do it so reliably. The likes of Jordan Boss, who I argue, when fit, is Australia's best player on the men's side at the moment. Like, he is a Melbourne City Academy product. And to do that with other players as well, and the ones you see coming through in the A-League at the moment, it's just so impressive. And it means that when your Matt Leckie gets injured, you can move a Zane Schreiber up into that 10 position. Kai Truan is obviously not an academy product, but that's just by their status, they've positioned themselves as a desirable place to be. So they get a Kai Truan from the Brisbane War. that can play in the six, that can play in a centre back when you have to take Liam Bonantic off because he's not had a great game. You know, it's just so impressive. So they're set up really well. They're going to continue to crush in Asia. Their next fixture is what we said in a couple of weeks' time, 10th of December over in Seoul. So we've played all three of the Japanese teams in the run. You've played Buriram from Thailand and Johor from Malaysia, and now we've got three Korean sides to finish.
Yep. And you talk about the Ronaldo effect. Jesse Lingard, it's a shame that we are not seeing him on Australian soil because he's still firing on all cylinders, still doing a really good job in South Korea. Someone that you and I were just saying off air, I can't believe he's actually been there for as long as he's been there and really taking a warmth to a place like the K-League because he's someone that is an idealistic A-League marquee, right? So just a shame that
Yeah.
game is on South Korean soil. But I think, again, another really important, diverse challenge for City to come up against. And, Gangwon haven't been too crush hot. Again, as we're recording this, they're down 3-0 to Machida. And I believe FC Seoul have just scored against Kevin Muscat's Shanghai Port as well. So
1-1, yeah.
Yeah, a few things to note with South Korean teams having a bit of a topsy-turvy form between them. But this is probably the ultimate challenge to come up against, knowing that, you take a draw away from this, you win this. I mean, can you imagine? City will be absolutely laughing and we will be as ecstatic as anything because it's a game that really you'd have to favour FC Seoul on almost any front. So, yeah, it's a good couple of fixtures coming up.
All right, that'll do for this episode of the Round Ball Australia podcast. A little short and sweet, just, Matt and I bathing in the AFC glory midweek. Of course, the Bulls playing on Thursday as well against Taipo from Hong Kong. That's James Timolkovsky's team, who the Bulls did have trouble with on the opening round of this competition. But a win will secure progression to the final rounds, and they could even lock up top spot depending on how the other game goes between Stephen Mork's Kongang, Hanoi, and Beijing Guan. But that's going to be fun. We're going to talk about that on Friday's episode of the podcast. Matt, thank you very much for your company today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for listening at home. We'll catch you then. Enjoy your midweek football and, of course, another big round of the A-League to come. Goodbye.